I'd like to call to order the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for March the 3rd, 2016. Our first order of business is to receive the minutes of the February 18th, 2016 meeting.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Register your vote. The lights need some attention, so while JJ does that, we'll just a verbal yes or a verbal aye. We have a motion and a second. Minutes are received from the February 18th meeting. Staff withdrawals or continuance requests?
F1, item 9, 14182, applicant requests a deferral to March 17th.
I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the moving that to March 17th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. That case is continued to March the 17th. Are there any continuance or withdrawal requests from the public today? Hearing none, before we proceed to the first case, our case number 7 today involves a family and there are small children present, and Tim Johnson has gracefully agreed to allow that case to be heard first in deference to that family.
Okay. Item 7, case 14195. They want to move it up?
Could I entertain a motion and a second to move case number 7 to the top of the agenda?
I would move that to the top of the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. Case number 7 is moved to the first item of the agenda.
Okay, item 7, 14195, request of Kayleen Gibson for a variance to the minimum 5-acre lot size located at 18825 Indian Meridian Avenue.
If you will, come to the microphone and give us your name and address for the record, and then go ahead and speak to your application.
Thank you. Kayleen Gibson. Our address is 18825 North Indian Meridian Avenue, and that's Luther, Oklahoma. We currently have 2.8 acres. It was family land that was deeded over, and when it was split, we did not know that we needed 5 acres to build. The land north of us, the gentleman has lived there for more years than I can remember. There's no way to gain land from him. There's no land east to us. Land west of us is already owned, and he's a farmer, and he wouldn't give us any more land either. So we're here to request permission to build.
I don't have any problem with this one. I think there's indeed a hardship here, and it was split. You know how I feel about splitting of land for family, because later on it could come to bite us, but I think she's evidenced a hardship, and otherwise we wouldn't have anything to build there. So,
Is there anybody present that wishes to speak on this request that's here about this case?
I move the approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the application. You are approved. Good luck.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item 1, case 14189, request of Johnson and Associates for a variance to permit vehicle maneuvering in the right-of-way, 600 North High Avenue.
Good afternoon, Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates on behalf of the owners of this property. This, as you may know, is this Page Woodson School that's being renovated by Page Woodson LLC. As part of that renovation, they're building the shaded building in your plan there is Building B. So this is a single project of a much larger piece of property. The property is controlled by the Alliance. What's in blue here is the first phase. It's the school is owned by a private entity, the school property. They're buying the portion of the street right away from the Okura Alliance and have the rest of it under development agreement to move on with the next phases. So you can see this is all Okura controlled property, including the piece across the street, all included in a development agreement with Mr. Ron Bradshaw. The first building is being the historic building of the school is part of the renovation is being funded through tax credits. And so it's been a very important and long project getting this through the National Park Service, which does impact where we have chosen to put the dumpster in this application. So on the overall site plan, this is 6th Street on the north and Stonewall on the south. That currently does not go through to 4th Street. The dumpster is located in this corner along with the OG&E transformer. But all of this, all the surface parking is in vacated street right-of-way. And what limited parking there is for the project back here is separated from the street, so there's no throughway. And this part of the building, as well as the front, but the back, was very important to the National Park Service as well. And so very sensitive to what we could put back here. So the dumpster was not allowed to be back here. So we didn't want to put the dumpster in the front of the building because this becomes a gateway to 4th Street and will become a public park as part of this project grows. So very limited location. It's being done stylishly with materials that match the building. It'll be gated and closed. And it's at a good location to serve both of these first buildings. Each other project will be dealing with their dumpster locations on each of their various sites. This is just schematic at this time. So what we're requesting is the ability to, as happens often in the urban city boundaries, is to use the street right-of-way to allow for private trash service to come in, load, and back out and leave. So we're using the street right-of-way as maneuvering. And because we do own the property or have it under the development agreement to the north, it'll be serving both projects once that's probably developed in the future. And that will be the next phase that goes in as the one to the north. So because of the nature of the building and its historic nature, we are requesting at this point that we be allowed to use the city right-of-way for the maneuvering of this dumpster location.
Is there sufficient room for the truck to be parked, maybe not quite the right word, on-site while it's being emptied? I mean, is it really just the getting in and out?
Yeah, when the truck pulls in, and this is just one way, we don't know, this is be private trash service, so we don't know for sure which direction they'll take these, but this is the worst case scenario. They can actually pull in and stab, and their vehicle will be completely off the street. The other method would be that the dumpsters would be rolled out, stabbed in the street, dumped, and rolled back in. I see this happen a lot in the inner city part of town that's been renovated. Old houses have been converted to businesses over on Lincoln. You see this a lot. But we're not sure which way they'll use it. In either case, it's considering the right-of-way as part of their maneuvering of the vehicle. So,
Well, I don't have a problem necessarily with this approach. I mean, clearly this is a unique project, and I know that once you've got Park Service involved, they're going to have their way about that. So, but I wish there were some way that we could monitor this to find out whether it becomes a problem.
If it's a problem, it'll be a problem to the same owner. He'll be creating a problem to himself. So.
Well, I think of it more as just like a traffic issue.
Right.
Well, someday we hope this area will be
Right.
crazy busy, right?
And the staff pointed out the advantage is 6th Street's an extra wide street. None of these streets around here are your normal 26-foot local residential. It's an extra wide street, it's extra wide right-of-way. So that is an advantage, and that gives us much more room to maneuver and still let through traffic through. Although 6th Street is it's only about 2 blocks long. The main thoroughfares are 8th and 4th.
just to clarify, there was really no other place for you to put, although staff mentioned that there might be other places
Right.
dealing with the Park Service, they indicated to you that those other locations were not going to be satisfactory. Is that correct?
That is correct, relative to the fact that this is our developable site right now. They have not purchased the rest of the ground. The other thing I failed to point out is the school building itself is about 6 to 8 feet above the streets around it. And so this is very high back here as well. And then this building steps down. So it would not have been possible to get a route through here so that they could pull in and pull out. And what we didn't want is the dumpster back here for two reasons. One, because the trash would have to back out, and two, the Park Service didn't want the dumpster by the building.
So you wouldn't be able to put it behind on High or off that area, is correct? That
Correct.
wouldn't be a feasible...
No.
And you wouldn't be able to, as she asked earlier, move it a little bit where there'd be a little more access to actually move in and do it, to move it just a little bit further
We're
for
locked
access?
into the building here. This building steps down from the street and matches this street, so this is a retaining wall here. Sorry. Hope that was clear.
Is there anybody who's asked to be heard on this matter?
Nobody has signed up. Anybody hear about this matter from the public?
Well, I believe that this application meets statutory requirements, so I'm going to move for approval.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the application. Register your vote.
Thank you so much.
You are approved.
Item 2, case 14-190, request of On Point Construction to permit a residence encroaching a platted front building line at 7816 Southwest 87th Circle.
Yes. My name is Cindy Cook. I live at 8825 Legacy Crossing Drive, Oklahoma City, and I'm representing On Point Construction. The house has actually already been sold. There was a copy of the full plat. What happens in these, the covenants and restrictions of the neighborhood require that the garage be on the side, except for if they're in the cul-de-sac areas, which this is, and therefore, even though it looks like a large backyard, these people have a half-acre to three-quarter-acre lots, so the house sits just in front so that they would have more room in the back. The house has actually already been sold. The reason I'm requesting the variance is because the homeowners wouldn't get clear title unless the variance was approved. There's been 4 or 5 other corner lots in the subdivision that I've already spoken and you approved before we started the construction process.
I have a question. I guess it's really a question of staff. Is this a situation where what was poured or built was not built where it was supposed to have been built, or a situation where somebody didn't notice that where it was being permitted was in violation of the platted building line?
I think it's more likely that it was just poured in the wrong place. You can see the building line is extremely deep. It's 95 feet.
Well, yet the other question I had is why, it says here, anyway, that the homes immediately to the north and south have front building lines significantly smaller.
Yeah,
Why
if you
would
look
that
at the
be?
plat, you'll see that all of the lots on the cul-de-sacs have building lines that are pushed back. That's because the minimum lot width in the RA district is 150 feet, and it's measured at the building line. So to get that width, lot width, they have to push that building line far enough back.
And that varies based on the size of the lot. I see, okay. Well, that makes sense to me. That sounds like a hardship to me. Is there anybody who wants to be heard on this matter?
No one signed up.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 3, case 14-191, request of Thomas Hernandez to permit a residence encroaching the side building line at 1006 South Barnes Avenue.
Is the applicant here today? Is there anybody here regarding this case?
I'd move that we continue it and ask that staff notify them. And
Our next meeting date is March the 17th. The meeting after that is April the 7th. So,
I would move that we move it to April the 7th.
Really?
I'll second it.
have a motion to continue case 14191 to April the 7th. I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. The case is continued.
Case 14192, request of Leo Terhune for a variance to permit a swimming pool and cabana located forward of the rear wall of the primary residence at 11505 South Ross.
Welcome. If you would just give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Leo Terhune. I live at 11505 South Ross Avenue in Oklahoma City.
Tell us about your application.
The application is for the fact that the pool is approved. The pool meets all code and all covenant requirements. I can put the pool on the side of the house, but as you can see, I live on a cul-de-sac, and once again, everything is pressed to the south of my lot, and I only have 2 feet from the back corner of my wall to the easement. And by code, I am told that you're not allowed to put a building, if you live in a lot less than 1 acre, you're not allowed to put a building in front of the rear wall of the property, or in front of the rear wall of the dwelling, of the main dwelling. So for us to put a pool house, since we have to put the pool on the side of the house, we're going to put a pool house out there so we would have shade and be able to utilize the pool to its max capacity. To do that, I need a variance.
Where will the fencing be on this?
The fencing will be from the front corner of the house across to what is the north side there, off the angled side of the lot. There'll be a privacy fence across the front. We'll have a protective privacy fence from the corner of the house. We live off of, this property is off of May Avenue in Lake Ridge. There's a brick wall that runs along May Avenue. And so we'll have a protective privacy fence across the back from the wall to our property, or to the back of the house, and then we'll have a large privacy fence in the front. Nothing protrudes past the front of the house, but we just didn't have any options other than the current situation of putting it there.
Just out of curiosity, have you spoken to your neighbors about this?
Yes.
Have any problem with it?
No. And actually, the covenant, everything was gone through the covenant. I mean, went through my homeowners association as well. I felt we did due diligence and took the time to get an architect and get it measured and get it surveyed and get it all done correctly so that there wouldn't be any issues. But as far as they're concerned, it's fine. There's multiple people that have dwellings on the sides of their house in the cul-de-sac. I hope all my neighbors did due diligence as well. So, I mean, it's a nice neighborhood, and everyone does take care in having nice property. So, but yes, I've had 4 or 5 people come over, and I've explained what we're doing, shown them the actual layout and the blueprints and everything of our property. And I haven't had anyone be negative about it.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the application. Register your vote. You are approved. Good luck.
Thank you.
Item 5, case 14193, request of Valor Health for a variance to permit a service area and utility screening requirements of the DTD district at 700 Northwest 7th Street.
Welcome. Just give us your name and address for the record and speak to your
I'm
application.
Kathy Potts. I'm with Reese Associates, 9211 Lake Hefner Parkway, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Valor, at this point in time, is remodeling a portion of the hospital to have a wound care with 2 oxygen chambers in it. Because of that, they're having to increase the size of their oxygen tank, and we have it outside of the building. It's a very tight lot. We really don't have anywhere for a side yard. We went through downtown design review. We got their permission, putting a wrought iron fence around the property, around the oxygen tank. We need the ventilation around the oxygen tank, so that's one reason why it's not a closed fence. We want to keep the ventilation around that appropriate. And it's in its current location because NFPA requires us to be at least 50 feet away from an inpatient room with an oxygen tank. And that's about the only place we can get 50 feet away from an inpatient room. So we're asking that the wrought iron fence be approved.
Is there any safe, and maybe this is more of a question for staff, I don't know, any sort of safety issue with it not being enclosed or surrounded by?
No, not really. There's a lock on the filling mechanism that can only be unlocked by the oxygen tank, people who supply the oxygen and come fill the tank. The wrought iron fence is still narrow enough that a fist can't really go through it, and there's plenty of clearances around that even if you could get in there that you can't reach. You know, it's past an arm's length away.
I did hear the videos, I listened to the videos from the Downtown Design Review Committees, and there was extensive discussion about why you had to have the variance from the solid screening, is that correct?
Yes.
And because you needed the ventilation to go through, and you determined this type of metal or wrought iron fencing gave more space so it would allow for better ventilation, is that
Right.
correct?
That's
And the
correct.
4 feet height is
Right.
what was important in order
Right.
to provide for this, so.
And then we're going to put coniferous trees in front of it, 11 feet high, so the whole oxygen tank, which is going to be horizontal instead of vertical, will be hidden from the street.
Right.
Any other discussion? Anyone here to speak on this matter from the public? Hearing none.
I move the approval of the variance.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 6, case 14-194, request of Jeff Struble for a variance to minimum driveway width and angle to the street and minimum radius located at 1804 Northwest 16th Street.
Hello, my name is Jeff Struble. My address is 1916 Northwest 18th Street. I'm the owner of the property. We have a vacant infill lot that's 50 feet wide. It's in the business overlay district of the Plaza District. We're trying to build a nice commercial building there, and we just have a really tight lot to build on. So we're looking to have a smaller driveway and approach to make that work.
Is the type of business that's going to be there known, or are you building it and not sure what the tenant?
It's kind of speculative right now. We're looking at our office and small retail.
Small retail?
Mm-hmm.
I really like you to, how are you going to get people to the back if you're only going to have one way to go? And you're asking us to approve a variance from the two-lane type requirement, the width requirement. How is that possible that cars can come and go with ease?
Well, this is going to be mainly just for the tenants and for a rollable trash can. We have a parking lot across the street, so it's not for the public. And then we're open to, not sure exactly what's going to go in the business, so we're just trying to be open for all options.
I think, I share Diane's concern, and part of what could happen is somebody's turning in from the street, and they see that somebody's trying to leave their property, and conceivably you've got people backing out into the street right away, and you've got sidewalks and pedestrian traffic and so forth and so on. That's my concern is you could end up in a situation where, people are trying to be same place at the same time, and conceivably you could have people backing out into traffic, or, the pedestrians that are in the area could possibly be in danger.
We are putting in a gate, an electric gate, so it'll be a controlled, people come in and out have to have, a remote to get the gate open and closed. So it'd be real restricted on any cars that would be using the driveway.
We can't condition. We can or cannot? We can condition.
I do not like this at all, really, but I think it creates a lot of problems, and the only way you could actually do is, I guess if it is controlled, otherwise, people would start trying to get back there, and it would be a mess. And 16th Street is a very vibrant and active street with a lot of young people and old people and everyone, and I don't like the plan at all, really. But I guess if we could condition the control to entrance, I don't know. That's just a
I actually have at least as much concern about the angle of the approach as I do the width of the driveway. I mean, I think...
And we don't even know what the traffic, what the allowable parking, or how many cars you conceivably might have parked back there.
Well, you have this.
There's just room for
Yeah.
maybe 6 cars to park back there. It's just mainly for, the owners or the tenants to be able to have a place to park off the street. And we did go through urban design, and they were in favor of this, and the gate is something that they requested, so that is in our CA to put a gate.
The notation for motorized gate, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the
notation
urban,
there?
that was part of the application, is to put a gate on the... Yes, ma'am.
I think I'd like to continue this case, and since it has been heard by them, I would like to review that discussion and see what their recommendations really were based upon, and before we take a vote on this. I don't think you've got the votes to get it approved today, so.
I would support that request, and so if other board members are like-minded, I would entertain a motion to continue, and we'd give...
We went through like 2 months of urban design because of the application during the holidays, so we're like 3 months trying to get started on this project. We've been just kind of
I suggest
sitting.
you take another couple of weeks.
Okay, well, that's...
Our next meeting is March the 17th. We will be a board member short, so we'll be a board of 4 members instead of 5 at that meeting. The meeting after that is April the 7th. Both dates are available to you.
Sooner the better would be
Okay.
good. The next
The
available.
applicant is requesting to have his case continued to March the 17th.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move case 14194 to March the 17th. Register your vote. You are
Thank you.
extended and continued.
Item A, case 14196, request of Justice Holmes for a variance to platted limits of no access at 13601 Canyon View Lane.
Hi, I'm Scott Hanrahan, 19116 Green Springs Drive, Edmond, Oklahoma. We need a variance on this address because the city made a mistake by issuing us a permit based upon the driveway being on a no-access area. The house is about a month from completion, and we really can't pick up the house and move it, so we submitted an application and plot plan. They approved it. And I actually went back to the city on another matter and asked about extending this driveway from the front of the house where it says sidewalk, because the gentleman's got a motorhome. He wants to take his driveway from the front of the house over to where it says concrete drive. And somebody at the city said, well, where the driveway is now, it should have been in the front of the house where it says sidewalk. And I said, who approved this application? They wouldn't tell me. I've been doing this for 17 years, and I know them all very well, but they didn't want to admit that somebody made a mistake.
I had some concerns and questions about this, but after
Okay.
consulting with staff, I think I've got my questions answered, that the access that they're seeking is not going to create any kind of a traffic hazard or concern about backup. This property is directly across 135th Street, also very close to Canyon Lakes. You know, take their access onto 135th. Apparently, it's not a problem, not an issue. So is there anybody who's signed up to speak on this matter?
No one.
I'll move approval.
Have a motion.
Second.
I have a second to approve the application. Register your vote. You are approved, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other business,
Can we hear from your boss?
or at least get a wave, yeah. Wave to everybody.
I had to take her out of school early today just because I usually pick her up at school in the afternoon. And how long this is going to take, so she was happy to get out of school a little early.
Well, we're happy to have you here today.
And she's impressed by this really cool building.
Where do you go to school? Okay. Well, we're happy to have you here today, okay?
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Pretty impressed by this building.
If there's no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. We are adjourned.